Hey, what's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco This is a 2024 Husky FE 501. Completely set up in the most unique and personalized way for this really great dude who, a guy from Utah who is got great plans with this. He's going to pick it up here today and head out on a BDR. And this guy has got all kinds of great abilities with time and his flexibility to spend hopefully what will be many enjoyable ride experiences on this new bike setup. And let's take a look at some of the things that make like an ultimate BDR. This really, in my view, is one of the best examples of what's possible with a light bike, turning it into a light adventure bike. And a 501 platform is really, in our opinion, the ultimate machine to do that because of the availability of so much aftermarket and so many great products and features and upfits that we do on these build program bikes. And it starts with sourcing a bike. We get new 0-hour bikes through our dealer network, and then once we have them, we break them in on the dyno, and then we launch into the full build. And then here's the result of that. And then there'll be the check-in. The owner will come and we'll do an orientation and check in, kind of the dealer experience, because often these owners are buying these bikes through our network and they're never meeting the dealer and they're never picking up the bike directly. They get shipped in or delivered or dropped directly here. And so the first time that these owners meet these bikes are when they come and they do the pickup. And so we present them with a paper copy of the OEM owner's manual. We have a MOTO owner's manual. We do a real tire-to-tire orientation and breakdown of the bike and its features and the things we've done to it. So when this owner comes a little bit later today, we'll walk him through that. And so maybe for him, for future reference, and then for you, if you're interested in a bike like this or thinking about doing some of these upgrades or mods, we can show you what some of them are. Maybe starting here at the back end, taking a look at the tie detail. You remove the large, bulky, dealer supplied rear end, and then we go to this all-in-one tail light. So this is turn, run, and brake all in one light. And then we have this Enduro plate on here, and so that's a magnetic flexible housing bracket rather. And so if you were to fall over, so if this hits the ground, it becomes flexible and then it magnetically reattaches itself. So as soon as you right the bike back up, and then your plate goes back to normal. Pretty cool. The tire is a MOTO. This is the Tractionator. And this is one of my personal favorite tires. It has just a fantastic grip in all conditions, wet, dry. The only place that it lacks a little bit, and any knobby does, so this is an aggressive knobby tire. And so where this type of tire will give a little bit up is on really hard pack. So for example, if you're going to be riding this on the street, it's just going to chew this up. And so not a great tire if you have lots of highway transit sections or you do lots of hard pack. But everywhere else, really good. And it's a fairly quiet tire too. So even if you do some roads, it's not super loud, it's not bouncy, it has really good manners. Very good corner. You can see how far over into the side that these side lugs go, and then they have these sips in them. Really good tire. This is a 120 size, which is a nice intermediate size. There's a 130, which is just a little bit bigger. So looking again at this rear wheel, let's notice here that we have a Cush hub. So this is a Warp 9 Cush hub. It is, I think it's like a magnesium type color, which is very good looking. And then this is the Elite Series rims. Very hard, very durable wheel set. He's got ultra heavy duty tubes in here with slime. And then we put silicone on the tube itself to help prevent pinch flats. And then a Dirt Tricks Ironman rear sprocket and stock gearing. This wheel set right here could last the ownership of this bike. So the Dirt Tricks sprockets last forever. These rims, you can be confident that he's not gonna, unless he sustains some really significant damage, probably never going to dent these rims, never going to bend any of these spokes, never going to lose any spokes. The nipples are going to stay tight. He will need to adjust these, just do some routine maintenance. But this is essentially really the ultimate in just problem-free, hassle-free, reliable wheel set. That's it right there. And with the Cush drive, the rubberized Cush drive, That will help dampen shock loads on the driveline, and so power roll-on and roll-offs will be smoother. The rider will feel that. You absolutely notice a cush drive when you have one on, and then his driveline will last longer. Chain, sprockets, everything will, it'll give increased durability and longevity of those components and parts. These these blocks here, these adjustment blocks, these are bulletproof designs. Moving up, you can see that we've got some great foot pegs. These are ProMoto billet, and these are the Extend Air. We've talked about these before, and these really promote really good ankle safety and security on the bike. Bulletproof on these levers. These are billet, really strong, really durable, and good looking too, so that's a nice upgrade. Durtrix on the dome washer, and then the stock counter sprocket. Maybe not, that might be I'd have to look and see, but that might be a Renthal. That is not a stock sprocket, and you can tell because it has these little mud cutouts. See how it's dished out there, and that will encourage, if you get mud packed up in there, it'll sort of self-cleaning is the concept behind that. Recluse auto clutch, that's the 4.0, fantastic clutch. Tacomoto on the oil filter, and then a molecule skid plate. This gas tank, that is the big 4.5 gallon IMS. This is huge tank, and one of the problems that the stock bikes have, as well as if you go to the bigger aftermarket tanks, is the inability to pick up all this fuel that's down here in the side wing unless you are bouncing and off-roading. And so this bike will get a Tacomoto snorkel, which will be installed here very shortly. Seat concepts, this is the XL, the wide, really nice. We've talked about that seat before. Inside of the airbox, we have a PC Racing filter gasket over the stock air filter, the twin air filter cage, and then the PC Racing air filter base gasket. Those are essential upgrades on our bikes for air cleaner, the airbox area. And then we have the harness. We've talked about that before. So the Tacomoto wiring harness and power distribution system, that's in here, and that's run through. And that all comes up to this really cool feature. This is the Tacomoto tower system. So I'm not sure if you've seen this before or we've shown it, but this is a polycarbonate, very close, mounted to the triple clamps. And so this gives you the ability to mount lots of electronics, have all kinds of items that would normally, you would lose space or crowd up the bars. You can move those off the bars onto this little tower situation. We have a key down here. Here's your turn signal indicator. Over here on this side, we have a USB. This is a charger. So you've got a standard and then a C, and you can turn this on and off. Now this will power on and off with the engine signal, and so does the GPS. Because our Tacomoto power distribution system lets you configure how you power your accessories, this rider could choose to power these direct to the battery, so they'd be hot all the time. Or in this instance, we have them set up so that they are only powered on the engine run signal. And this mini tower has really generated quite a bit of interest everywhere we've shown it, and it's not on our website yet. We're only doing it on our full custom builds, and you can see that we've got two headlights here. These are diode dynamics. We have a widespread here. This is essentially the low light in low beam, and that's a wide flat light, which is effectively a highway cutoff. It is not DOT legal for motorcycle use, but it is safe for motorcycle use. And then the top light is a high beam. That's a long throw pencil beam, and that puts the light way out on the trail, and then the low beam. So when you're in high, you have both lights on at the same time, and then low is the bottom only. It's a great light setup. We're experimenting with mounting a few different other types of lights in here to give you some options for light choice. The turn signals here are the Tacomoto Flex. These, we've covered these before. These are sequential, so the turn signal light comes out from the center, and then they have a run feature, a white run light, safety light. And so that whole front end of this bike is just absolutely functional, great looking. The number one reason why we decided to go with this is made by Yencro. This is Joe out of Australia, and that's just a great tower. And we've worked with him for a year plus in pinning down the way that we wanted to have these configured. And so this is a Tacomoto item made for us by Joe. And one of the reasons why I wanted to pursue this tower situation in the first place is because it has essentially it's breakaway. So if the front end of this bike hits the ground, this screen, or if you come into this, let's say the rider has a chest moment where you come in and you punch into that, this screen pops off, breaks away. It will minimize any damage to the screen and any damage to you. And I have tested this. I was in Moab with a screen like this and did a tip over, screen popped off, had only the slightest little scratch up here on the top. Otherwise, absolutely no indication that the bike had gone over. And if you compare that to the cost and rigidity of standard towers, so I am a fan of rally towers for guys who use rally tower features, guys who are really doing rallies, because there's a huge benefit to have the strength and the fact that it's frame mounted. So there is a difference between having this frame mounted or bar mounted. When it's bar mounted, this really the advantage here is it allows the light to go where the rider goes, where your tire goes. So in certain situations, that is a big advantage. When it's a proper rally tower, then the light is mounted rigid to the frame. And so no matter where you have the bars, the light will go where the chassis goes, where the frame goes. Each one has advantages, disadvantages. So for us, the main advantage here, like I said, is the light goes where you go. Also, the weight is pulled further back towards the center of mass. A standard rally tower has all of that weight so far forward. That changed chassis dynamics. I happen to not care for that particularly with the type of riding I do. And then the weight is absolutely minimized because this is polycarbonate. The body is very light. We have the ability to add lots of, you can drill holes in it. We've got these little bolts here, these holes. Here's some. So you could add custom brackets. You could do a bar here and then come up and over. And if you wanted to have a bar, what we happen to have here is a ram ball with a Peak Design phone mount. So he'll have his Voyager Pro here and then his phone up here, and underneath here, notice we have a MOTO minded step out. So that's just a little kicker to give that a better angle. So we don't have this on the site just yet, but it will be up soon. And I'm a huge fan of this, and this is going to get a lot of attention and be very exciting when we do release this. Mako 360, this is full damping, bar damping, so vibration and harshness is completely minimized. Heated grips, Tacomoto start kill switch, highway dirt bikes, tapped in big bar bolt, great bar guards with integrated mirrors, and then Scott stabilizer, all of that integrated and working together. Tacomoto ECU, get ECU with the all new map switch, LED map switch. This has been very, very exciting to release this. This has quick shift, so here's some of the functions in this. You can change between the two maps. You can have quick shift enabled, launch control, and then you can manage your traction control here. And then also it'll give you a high over temp indicator as well, like an overheat warning light. That is a really, really slick new function, and you can get that from us with our SX1 Tacomoto Get ECUs. Let's see, suspension. As I'm looking at this fork, we have the fork shrinks. We've talked about this before, and this is really just a cosmetic covering of the forks. It really dresses up the look of the bike, but doesn't offer much in way of crash protection. Really, if you're a hard enduro guy, you'd probably skip over these and go to like a Dingo fork guard, something rigid and strong. Up front, we have the match of the MOTO's Tractionator tire, and this is the ST, so soft terrain is how that's rated, and it wears really well, but it has a nice supple feel to it, and so it'll give good traction and very good feedback. It's got a fairly modestly soft carcass, and so that tire feels really good. It doesn't skid. It gives good, really good positive feedback on the front end. In my opinion, one of the most important choices you can make with setting up your bike is your front tire. And a really good front tire will absolutely improve your ride experience. And then you can see that we've got a rim lock here now. When we run Moose, we don't put rim locks in the front, but because this is a tube, we've got a rim lock up there. And then the wheel is balanced Warp 9 Elite for this rim set as well. TM Design Works on these lower fork guards. Looking up here, bulletproof on the radiator guards. Bulletproof makes a good guard. They're very attractive, and because they have really excellent front coverage, we're okay using them on a situation like this. We don't use them when they're a standalone radiator guard, but for front protection, these are very adequate and do a good job for that. And then for the P3 here, this is the really cool carbon fiber exhaust guard. Samco radiator hoses are up in there. You'll see that. Recluse 4.0 clutch. We talked about that. And then notice, I didn't look at it on the front, but we've shown them before. And here on the rear, that shark fin is an STR. For the weight and strength, that's an absolute top pick of ours. This is the heat shielding right here. You'll see on the exhaust, and that pulls heat out of that shock, out of the shock oil. And that is a nice improvement. And then Graves is that muffler, and we leave the quiet insert in. Here on the radiator hose, we do this. There's a heat shield that goes over the top of that. So that may be a full wrap. Oh, bulletproof on the levers here. These are nice. They have very adjustable bolts here. You can change the angle of attack, and also that will aid in the amount of leverage, pull feel that you have on those levers, and so that's a nice upgrade. And this is a brake tech brake system. There's been controversy in the forums. You'll see where guys will talk about Brembo versus Magura versus brake tech, and you'd be hard pressed. I know there are riders out there who can and do feel the difference in braking, and I'd say that for my riding, the style of riding and the amount of riding and the fine finesse that I have in terms of those systems, I don't particularly feel a difference. And people will argue and debate that, and that's perfectly fine. And there are better riders than me that do notice that. But for your average rider, I would say that you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference. One thing that is an upgrade here on the front end is a little more aggressive rotor. So this is a cross-drilled rotor than the stock rotor, and so that has a little bit better bite, we find, over the stock rotor. But again, some of that is subject to opinion, and you'll get in endless debates about that stuff. Notice here that we reroute. This is something maybe worth mentioning again. We always do these because it's just such an important thing. If your clutch hose is not attached and fashioned to the bike, you'll find it's super annoying and sometimes dangerous for these electronics. I've had GPSs and phones yanked off my handlebars because I didn't have any cable management. And so when we do the hose here, we pull it underneath and it's locked and attached. So that means this never moves. It's fixed and rigid. And then we also get rid of the wheel speed sensor. We don't have that go over the top. We dive it in. So with this tower here, the signal from the wheel speed sensor, you'll see that it comes up, and then like I said, we shove it in, we dive it into here, so we don't need to transit it over here and then do that weird little return loop that it does in the stock form. There's just no point to that. So we clean this up by doing that, and then we attach the attachment points here for the cables. They're here. We make these. This is a bracket here and here, and then the cable now, these flex kind of Yamaha style. They'll just move out into that direction right there, and we have yet to have any issues with those and have had really good rider feedback and positive experiences with that configuration. So that might be something worth looking into if you've had some of your electronics yanked off your bars. Power that we have a dyno now at the shop, and we've talked about how we break in new bikes with the dyno. And we have been doing some power runs on these new 500s, and with this setup in this exact configuration, this bike is capable of 59.62 horsepower and about 39 something foot-pounds of torque. So you could, in a good day, you could say that's 60 horsepower and 40 foot-pounds of torque. That's absolutely mind-blowing and awesome. That's a nice improvement. The 24 generation motor is a power up, not hugely, but they do make more power than the previous generation motors. And we are not chasing horsepower. We don't tout maximum horsepower because in essence, that's a fun data point. It's a fun number to point out, but that's not where I ride. That's not where dual sport guys ride. That's not where vet riders spend their time. No one's at 9,500 RPM on a KTM 500, unless you're a you're a Baja racer or a snow bike guy. And if that's the case, then there are ways to provide the fun factor for those guys. But for us, it's about usable power. Most riders are going to spend their time in first through third gear and some single track situations, and they're probably not going to be above 5,000 RPM. And so the Get ECU system with the traction control and those features like we talked about really benefit that type of rider and put the power in that zone where he or she is going to be spending the majority of their ride time. So it's fun to talk about 60 horsepower and 40 foot-pounds of torque, and I think it's really exciting. But again, that's not attractive. That's not the main selling point for the Tacomoto Get ECU system, and it's you will find that we aren't tuning to that point. Now, just one other thing to say, these bikes are capable of more. However, you start to get into the danger zone in terms of what's capable on pump fuel. So really the key thing is that power in this ECU in this configuration is widely usable. So across a whole spectrum of temperatures, even fuels, it's the manufacturer specified a 91 octane, and these bikes run best on 91 through 93. But with the Get ECU, if you needed to, if you got some bad gas in Mexico, you could pull away a little timing and you could bring that down so that you're running, like some 89 fuel or 87. You get some sour gas and you have the ability to tune for that. So there are some really significant advantages to having a Get ECU system for those power benefits, also for the tunability for those situations where you need to back some of that away. So that's probably it. If you have any questions about this bike, let us know. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think of a machine set up like this. The graphics are pretty wild. I got to admit, they're not for everybody, but they are incredibly eye-catching. This is an in-house design and an in-house graphics kit produced by Tacomoto. So, clearly not for everybody, but for a guy who's got a lot of self-confidence and good sense of design and style, this absolutely is a winner, and I like it. And clearly this rider does too. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, go out, get some adventure.